Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's lesson is about navigating anatomical challenges as an artist. So what does that actually mean? We're going to tackle this as a complete beginner. So let's say that when you're drawing and your anatomy just doesn't look correct, whether or not you're doing humans or humanoids or something completely alien. There are ways to make any anatomy that you draw more believable if you just follow certain rules. But before I get into that, I just want to say that if you're not really considering yourself an artist, you do it as a hobby, and you just want to better your anatomical skills, that's great. Because again, it doesn't matter how seasoned you are. You could be a 20, 30-year veteran in the industry doing visual effects and games, or you could just be grabbing a sketchbook right now and drawing along with me, which I do encourage you to do. So if you do have a sketchbook, please get it out, draw along with me, make sure you're comfortable, light a candle, do something fun. All right, so you're probably wondering what this is. It's just a creature like a Lovecraftian, long-legged, it kind of looks like a crab, like a coconut crab, if you want to say that. So I'm just adding some shapes here. This was already drawn for the video, and I just want to show how I would build off of this. So what are some of the things that I actually have around my office that help me with my anatomy? So I can grab those real quick. So one, I have the male anatomy. This is from 3D Total. So they're not sponsoring today's video, but they've been a great client of mine for years. And I do a lot of books for them and articles. This is something that I stand next to my desk at all times. Okay, I have the male version, and then I have the female version right here. So if I'm doing any character work, or if I'm doing a creature that needs humanoid reference, and I'm still going to manipulate it somehow, I have that. And I also have my trusty quadruped. Okay, so it's just a horse. Okay, so they've got the skin on one side, then you turn it over, and then you can see all the really nice muscles and everything. It's just a fun thing to have. I plan on growing my collection, okay, but you can look at something like this if it's next to you, or if you don't have these models, you can definitely have your desktop open next to your sketch pad if you want to do it like that. But that's how I would start. So if you can't get the models, you don't have the money, that's totally fine. Those run at about $100-$120. Then you can definitely just collect a lot of images off the internet, and it does just fine. What I do suggest, though, is don't study anatomy based on somebody else's drawing when you're first learning. Like what I mean is, if you're trying to get super accurate human or dissected animal anatomy, somebody else's drawing of those animals, it's an interpretation. I would look up dissection images, depending on how squeamish you are, but you're definitely going to learn a lot if it's an actual photograph. Or actually go to a figure drawing class. So if you're looking up anatomical reference for a human being and you see somebody did absolutely gorgeous drawings of a person during a figure drawing class, you probably could get away with that, but remember, those drawings are interpretations. Now what we're doing today is completely made up based on anatomy. All right, so I have the models in front of me, but we're just making this up, so let's just go with it from there. Okay, so the first thing that I figure out about this creature is that it is crustacean, and no reference to facehuggers because Alien Romulus is out, but these legs do kind of represent the legs of a facehugger. The joints are a little different, so I don't know how the feet are going to happen down here. But let's just figure that out. But I am going to give it a tail. Now, how would I do the tail? Very lightly, of course, so all the details are in the front here. And then towards the back of the creature, I'm going to very lightly do a long tail, and then I'm not going to add any details to the tail. I'm just going to steady my hand and have a nice outline. Now, you guys viewing this probably can see the outline. I'm not going to get too dark because we're going to build off of this. There's going to be some anatomy that's happening in here where I'm going to have to show some muscle, but also a little bit of vertebrae or vertebrates, whatever you want to say. So I need to be careful about adding too much detail. Okay, and then the same thing down here. Now, the anatomy that I looked at for this creature, mostly insects. I did look up crab mouths and also the bobbit worm. If you don't know what bobbit worms are, they're pretty nasty, really prehistoric looking. If you like graboids and tremors, it's kind of like the modern day graboid. It's pretty gnarly. They're very long. They dig themselves in the sand. They're several feet. I mean, they can get up to like 5-6 feet long, and their mouths are just this huge, almost like a trapdoor bear trap. It's crazy, and it just comes out of the sand and horrifically pulls down the prey under the sand. So it's pretty cool. All right, so let's say, for example, you want to do a mouth, and you want to make sure that each tooth is growing out of the skull. Okay, so you, instead of rushing the shape, you want to compartmentalize your anatomy when you're drawing it. So for example, when, like, we're going to move down here a little bit, these joints for the legs, okay, the legs are attached to this head. Okay, so this is obviously the big ball joint here coming out, and then it's going to have what I'm going to refer to as ankles on here. Okay, it could be elbows. There's like multiple joints. So I have to do the shoulders first, and then make sure that the anatomy of like the muscles stretching will taper off of that shoulder. And I'm compartmentalizing it instead of just randomly placing shapes. Okay, randomly placing shapes is what we see all the time when people don't really know how to draw people, and they just kind of make up the anatomy. So if you're doing a comic character and you didn't bother looking at reference, you're just making up the arm muscles, it looks like somebody has 5 shoulders and 8 biceps because it's just lumps. So do yourself a favor and just study how those actually look. Okay, you can have a model like this next to you, okay, to start things off. You're like, oh look, the rear delts, okay, you got your rhomboids, you got your long head of your tricep, you got your latissimus, okay, you got your trapezius up here. Like, you don't even have to know the scientific names of each muscle. You just got to know where they're located, what they look like, and how they move. Okay, and if you can get those 3, that's great. And do little anatomical studies too. Okay, I've done so many animal sketches over the years that I just kind of mix and match what I have seen. So, for example, there might be a joint on here where, if you notice this ankle right here, it'll get thicker. Okay, but once I do that, I'll go look at my horse, okay, and I'll notice maybe I can apply some of those tendons I see. I don't know if that's going to be out of focus, but I have the camera focused on the paper, so anything I bring forward, it might be out of focus a little bit, so you'll have to excuse me for that. But I'll see what muscles I can use from a horse to kind of manipulate them to maybe fit in the larger joints on a creature that I'm drawing. That's how you make believable creatures, guys. It's really not rocket science. What the hardest part is getting past your stubbornness to study this stuff, because a lot of people don't want to. Either they're lazy or they think it's copying, and yes, it is copy. You have to do it. You can't just make it up without knowing what's happening under there. All right, and then you got to know, like, for example, the knees and the elbows and the ankles. There are probably going to be a cluster of ligaments and tendons that are going to attach to the ball joints. So what do you do in that case? You're going to make the joints thicker, make them a little bit more bulbous, and stretch out the forearm sections and the sections where muscles like triceps and biceps are going to be retracting. Now, for example, this disgusting thing, it's completely made up, but it's based on anatomy that actually exists in the real world. All right, so if you're drawing along with me and you're getting frustrated at your anatomy, just start scribbling start scribbling, start figuring out what some really cool shapes could be doing. Like for example, if I'm not really satisfied about the feet, I left the feet out and I don't want to add anything quite yet, then I'll kind of come over here and be like, oh, well, maybe if I just scribble some shapes over here. Okay, allow yourself to draw dirty and gritty before committing to anything. Okay, how many times, like, I know I can't see you in person, but raise your hand mentally if you just started drawing stuff and you just started putting details on it and it turns out that you don't like the design and then you just kind of scrap it and then move on to the next one. Well, you probably spent too much time on it. So right here I have 2 major finger joints and I have these cool little double toenails coming out. That's all I'm going to do for it. Then I'm going to move on. I've done this before. So here I am trapping myself doing the same thing that I've done. So that's why I'm doing the versions, because I don't want to do that. So let's do something cooler. Maybe it could be a sharp toe followed by some smaller joints coming down. That'd be kind of neat. All right, so when I'm looking at these feet over here, it's like, meh, they're kind of boring. Don't really want to deal with some boring designs here. So what do? You just keep sketching little shapes here until you get something that could be kind of cool. All right, so this is the typical carpal joint right here. So you got all these little carpal bones inside here. You got your ligaments stretching out to each individual toe. And I think I have something here because what it looks like, the sides can actually be a little finger with a pretty sharp toenail. Maybe they come to the side. And then add some skin around here, some thickness, almost like a bird toe. And I think I'm going to use this one because this one seems more fitting than these two for this creature. I've done this a lot. My brain just went to that shape. I have to self-edit, which is another, I wouldn't call it a strategy. It's just an ability that comes with time, self-editing, to know that you're doing the same thing. And then this one wasn't interesting enough. It didn't make any sense. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm just going to place that over here on this toe to see what it looks like. See how light I'm being. I kind of like that. So the foot thickens out. The foot looks like it's strong enough to actually hold this entire structure up, like with the leg and however much the whole torso and abdomen section of this creature weighs. And then what I want to do is make sure that, okay, if the arm is coming this way towards us at an angle, then you want to shift those toes a little bit and you want to spread them apart. Okay, so this is another example of weight distribution. Okay, you want to make sure that the toes are spreading, kind of like if you look at your own feet when you stand up, you notice each individual toe will kind of spread apart a little bit because it's the muscles and the weight being applied to those joints. Those are spreading out, and that's really going to help the realism. And now that I'm looking at this, it's probably going to need a third toe back here. Okay, this is where, when you're doing anatomy, you can kind of make stuff up, but you don't want to make it up in the sense of just because it's going to look cool. There's actually functionality with that. So in the back of this hand, or foot, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of open space, and that means that there's an ability for this entire arm to collapse backwards because there's nothing to hold it. It's kind of like if you take your hand and you push it like this. So you got all your weight on these fingers, but what about if you shift your hand backwards? There's nothing to catch it. All right. Think about high heels. Okay, you need that leg sticking up in the back of the heel so that when people wear high heels, it counters the weight in the back where the heel is. It's kind of the same thing, although our creature is not wearing high heels. Okay, and then the other thing about anatomy and navigating the challenges is doing different directions. So you saw how I treated that. Okay, I looked at the direction of each foot. So another common problem that I see with anatomy is, like, if you're doing a creature, whether it's bipedal or quadrupedal, the feet aren't facing the correct way. Everybody kind of draws them stiff as if it's a orthographic sketch, And yeah, the 3D department's going to like that, but at the same time, we need to see what these things look like in action. All right, so think about how humans stand. Think about how our feet spread slightly when we're resting at a bus stop, or we're kind of shifting our weight onto our main leg when we're sitting talking on the phone, or I mean standing talking on the phone. Kind of the same thing. So this creature right here, I'm just giving slightly more outlines to the legs. So this hand is going this way, so I'm going to do a little arrow, and then this one is going this way. So this one in the back is going to kind of face outward even more. All right, but the toes aren't going to be the same. You're going to add a little bit of chaos in here. So a good buddy of mine always told me that if you want good creature designs, you add a little bit of chaos to it. Okay, and what that means is if you catch yourself drawing stuff too stiff, tentacles, limbs, like if you're drawing your creature and the creature looks like it is attacking and it's coming towards you, but all the hands are doing the same thing, you want to add a little bit of chaos in there. Like, how can you change that to where naturally the creature would be lifting its right arm up so that it can extend that first? Maybe it's closer to the victim. Okay, and then the left arm is tucked away. That's a little bit of chaos. Tentacles, okay, up here, even though they're very lightly drawn, not one of them is going the same direction. They're all twisting and turning in different directions. I should probably add some shading to those areas too. Okay, so it looks like this creature is probably going to have 6 legs total, which is cool. It's also a little disgusting. This creature's is nasty look. I don't even know what it is. But what if we change it up somehow? What if underneath we have an extra arm? Okay, it's kind of fold down. Again, I'm thinking movie reference wise, where I possibly could have gotten this anatomical reference from, and then it clicked as I was drawing it. If you've seen Cloverfield, the original one, you know that the giant creature, it's actually a baby. It's funny. Not a lot of people know that, but it's actually an infant version. It was dropping these parasitic, smaller creatures out of its belly, like it was rubbing its body against skyscrapers, and these 2 little hands were growing off of it. It was pretty neat. So I think I'm going to have little hands here. And I'm just going to make sure that anatomically, I'm going to put some thickness around that hand, and then the wrist joint, and of course up here is the forearm. And then as it comes up into the abdomen, you're going to have what would appear to be a bicep, but I don't really know. Again, we're kind of making stuff up as it goes, but we're thinking about it. We're compartmentalizing it. Notice how I'm not jumping to any other spot. I want to get this arm out, and I'm going piece by piece. Okay, so the forearm stops here. There's the wrist. There's some thickness for the different bones and ligaments inside that wrist. And then you have your hand, and then some claws coming out of that hand. Show some thickness around the base of the claws so that it looks like there's muscle and fat tissue and padding that grows around those. All right, so once we have that, the next thing we want to do is obviously draw the legs on the other side. So if you're drawing along with me now, maybe it's not the same creature, just make sure that you're sitting up with your back straight so that you are not tilting your head to the side while trying to draw things in perspective. That's going to screw you up immensely, because what a natural habit that we have when we draw is if we treat it like we are writing. Okay, so when we write things down, we tend to tilt our head because it gives a nice slant on our handwriting, correct? That's not the same when it comes to drawing. Now you can tilt your head if you're shading, because there's no real purpose in trying to put shading in perspective. But when it comes to line work, even organics and not hard surface, you still want these things in perspective. All right, so I kind of hinted at an arm coming up. I don't even know if I want that. Maybe it's just saliva being slung because this creature is looking up quickly or running. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is going to be in perspective. So the ball joint here for this leg or arm is going to be on the other side. Okay, so I want to make sure that it looks like that arm is growing on the other side. The other thing when it comes to anatomy, and this is a very, very common problem, is that when you look at the width of the torso for the creature, like if you're doing a four-legged creature, it doesn't look thick enough. It looks paper thin because the legs are placed too close together on the opposite side of the creature. So it looks like there's nothing in between. For example, now I'm going to have to use my eraser for this just to show you the example. All right, so let's say we want to do a leg on the other side, and I'll show you where it doesn't look good. The leg on the other side would actually come out over here. But what people do is they tend to put it right under the creature. So now it looks like the creature's either constipated or very, very stiff. And there's not, you can like squeeze the creature width-wise almost instantly. Like you could just pinch it. So you want there to be some thickness to it, okay? So you got to think that the mouth, the head, everything is rounded. So we want to make sure that we go on the other side, extend the space out where those legs will exist, add a little bit of chaos to it, and then you start putting in the legs. Okay, maybe even show some shading right inside the mouth of where that other arm could be. Just hint at it. Doesn't even have to be super detailed. Just hint at where the arm could be. As a matter of fact, I probably will have to put some darker shading inside there, but here's the thing. I'm darkening the tips of the teeth. So aside from anatomy, I am giving you a little bit of shading techniques here too. You have to play up what shading looks like when it's value put against another area of value. So the tip of the teeth are dark. If the tip of the teeth are dark, you don't want to darken the inside of the mouth. Otherwise, the teeth immediately fall flat, and it's going to be a sea of darkness, and you don't want that. So you're going to play up the contrast. Dark teeth, slightly lighter inside. By the way, it's raining outside. I might have an impromptu rain effect to my video that I won't be able to filter out. I don't know how that's going to sound, but it might be actually kind of cool. Okay, but anyway, hopefully you get my drift on that part. If you are interested in leveling up your skills to a more pro level, you can definitely contact me at bobbyrepholtz@gmail.com if you want to talk about a private mentorship that I do hold now. So I'm really excited about it. I just started it back up after a multiple year hiatus, but we're having a lot of really good success with students just wanting to hone their skills in specific areas. It's a more intensive thing to do instead of just the creature design workshop that I have. If you're interested in the mentorship, please contact me. And then if you're interested in learning how to draw creatures from scratch, I do have a workshop with a syllabus attached, and we have a creature design workshop Discord as well. So the Discord is a bustling community. It's not just for creature designers, it's for people that just want to get better drawing in general. There's a focus on creature design, so we have monthly challenges with winners announced based on fun briefs that we give. And then also we have a lot of references from students contributing to anywhere from environments to animals. We have architecture, all kinds of things. We have listings of movies and music to really help you along. So it's a very nice community, very sweet people. We're hitting 3,000 members this week. It's crazy to even consider that a possibility, but it's happening and it just keeps growing, so that's fun. But again, at the end of the day, numbers don't really matter. What really matters is people are helping other people make a difference. And this is why I do this channel. I try to help as many aspiring artists as possible because I know how frustrating drawing can be when you're looking at your stuff and going, you know what, I suck and I can't get better. I keep drawing the same thing. I have creative block. I'll never get a job in this industry, etc. Well, I help you tackle all of that. Now, jumping back to the mentorship that I give, it's a 4-week mentorship. it's a rolling basis, so you can join whenever you're comfortable. Now, I do cap it at a specific number per month, just because it can get kind of overwhelming, and I want to give every single mentee the proper time that they deserve if they want to get better. Okay, so each individual person has a set of goals that they give me, so I know where they're coming from, and then we can develop assignments based on those. So no two mentees have the exact same stuff to work on. That's what makes it fun. And plus I get to see you grow, and it's really, really nice. So check out the links in the description below for my Creature Design Workshop Discord, which is free to join. People are joining nonstop. And then also my Creature Design Workshop website. Okay, the link's in the description below. Also, comment below. Just tell me what you're working on. I love hearing this stuff. When I hear enough people struggling about a specific thing, it gives me new ideas for videos. So I can kind of gauge what I need to record stuff on to help people as quickly as possible. Instead of, sometimes it's a home run based on an idea that I have for a video, but other times I really like to know the feedback from all of you, because there's specific things that maybe a lot of artists are struggling with that I haven't covered yet. When I did the character design thumbnails, I didn't realize that it was going to take off like it did. So that's why I'm starting to do more human character stuff. As I'm blabbing, I want to make sure that I remember to put that other hand in there. And it doesn't have to be detailed either. That's where atmospheric perspective comes in. Anyway, when you look at this, you're going, oh, okay. I got some anatomy going. We got a cool mouth. We got some believable limbs. You want to make sure that you at least indicate where the limbs are on the other side. Okay, but here we go again, folks. I want to make sure that the shading in the background for that limb on the other side, so it's this one, just on the other side, I want to make sure it doesn't go any darker than that. So I'm probably going to have to darken this leg to put some depth in there. And then what I'm going to have to do is make sure that, well, if I shade it up towards the throat, and the throat itself is the same tone as that arm, then I'm going to have to darken the neck and the chin. And there we go. Now it's sticking out. But I'm not doing it really harshly to the point where it's like jet black or anything like that. But when you start looking at anatomy like this, you start to compartmentalize it. You can navigate around your creature and ask yourself, does each individual body part look like it's interchangeable? So one of the coolest pieces of advice that I got while working in games is that, I don't remember who told me this, one of my art directors, he said, Bobby, if you're ever doing a character with armor, one of the best ways to have a believable anatomy and something that will resonate with the team and with players is have each individual body part interchangeable, so that in the game a player can customize the body parts. And if you're doing a creature, you can treat it like a toy. Okay, you can take the limbs off, and then your torso can act as a separate entity. You can take the teeth out because you have a space where the teeth are growing out of. So you got to think about the creatures that you're designing if they're being manufactured in a company. That's how you, what I mean by that is, think about the machines that actually place toys together. Or think about 3D printing now, okay? It has to do it in sections, whether it's printing it from the ground up or however they, place these body parts together, right? But it still has to be manufactured and sculpted. So just think about how your creature can be sculpted. I'm going to turn my sketchbook a little bit. Here we are upside down. Okay, so I'm going to try to move this to where it's still going to be in focus. So hopefully it is. I have it focused right around this area. There might be some blurry spots down here at the bottom of the frame. I have a fixated focus on this point, so I try to keep my hand around there. That's why you'll notice that sometimes when I stop, like there's segments in the video, and then it comes back on, the camera has slightly been changed. I I tried to adjust the focus too. Okay, so hopefully this is going to help complete this tail in the back. And I don't want anything super fancy. The way my desk is made, I have like this, I'm tapping it right now. I have this leg over here on my desk, kind of gives a balcony to it. So I have like a separate layer, and I can't turn my sketch pads. Well, at least it stopped raining outside. I was kind of hoping that it would just add to the ambiance of the video. I haven't added music to my videos in like months. Maybe I should. Just like hardcore techno or something, I don't know. Okay, there we go. Hopefully this is helping too. Please comment below and just, again, let me know what you're working on if you're in school right now, or if you're thinking about going to school, or if you're working on projects that are kind of frustrating. Now's the time to join our Discord so that you can get as many eyeballs on it as possible. Okay, so I'm looking at it through the lens too, so I think I can get it all in there. There we go. Again, I'm going to ask you all to help me name this creature. You guys think of some awesome names. Really. I don't care how goofy it is. You can name it something goofy too. I name my creatures like meteorologists name storms. Like Irene and Blake. You know, just typical names for humans. But occasionally I get some really good ones. And some raunchy ones. But you know, we got kids probably watching this stuff, so let's keep our language down to PG, or PG-13, I guess. There we go. Okay, so another thing that I like doing for anatomy is whenever I'm doing something that has exoskeleton shapes and soft tissue mixed, you have to make sure that the tissue is growing out of another soft area. So this is when studying soft tissue comes in. Okay, think about the muscles of the underbelly of a quadruped, okay, or a lizard even. How does the skin look under the armpits? Okay, what do crab legs look like? What do turtle legs look like in between the shell? Think about how all that stuff grows out. Okay, and as far as the tail goes, I'm just going to hint at some anatomy over here, some vertebrae. You want to make sure that you honor the roundness of this tail, so I'm just going to round off some of these. I haven't really added much to the tentacles. In all honesty, it's really not important. What is important that I have not done yet is put the toenails on that other foot. Okay, so you'll see here what I was talking about, the directional changes. I like to put little arrows here just to remind myself of where these feet are facing. So this one's going opposite, out that way. There we go. So now it looks like the creature is living and breathing in an environment on a 2D surface instead of flatly printed. Okay, so for example, the creature now looks like, since its foot's turned this way, it looks like there's more space back there. There's a hard surface. And that's what you ultimately want to portray in all of your portfolio pieces. Make sure that your creatures look like they're living and breathing in a place. Okay, some kind of planet. Doesn't matter. And a way to help that is to navigate all of the anatomy that you need to place on your creature. Okay, so I just want to talk one more time about my creature design workshop that I hold on our Discord. So if this excites you, drawing this type of stuff, inventing creatures, I'm going to, or I have been, giving a very big summer discount to the sign-ups. So please check the links in the description below for a creature design workshop. And, you know, let me know your thoughts and what you want to do. Where are you going to start if you're a complete beginner and you don't know what to do for anatomy? Okay, well, there's some great resources out there, like Terrell Whitlatch's Science of Creature Design. It's a wonderful book. I have that. And then as far as people goes, I mean, you can, there's a lot of figure drawing books that you can find on Amazon. One in particular, anything from Bern Hogarth is great. like dynamic hands, dynamic poses. Some other really great artists that know their stuff with anatomy, like Mark Bernay. He does an amazing job at breaking down the human form from his days of working at Blizzard. He's a really good teacher too. And also just collect images, folks. Seriously, go on Google, collect images, make your image boards if you've never done that before. And if you have Photoshop, Procreate, Krita, whatever you're using, open up a document, 11 by 17, 1920 by 1080p, whatever size you want. Just make sure it's big enough. Use PureRef, okay, and start collecting images of animals that interest you. That's how we start off our workshop. And just to give a little taste of the syllabus and what you'd be doing if you sign up, I have you collect images based on a brief that I give. I won't give the brief over here. You got to sign up for that. But you collect images and you start doing thumbnail sketches based on those images, like the animals that you find most intriguing. I mean, people collect all kinds of stuff. Subterranean, winged, marine, insects, big cats, dogs, anything. And then what you do is you start developing your own creature thumbnails based on those those references. And then we start building it from there. So we are already honing your skills as a creature designer, as a concept artist in general. So I really encourage you to check the links in the description. All right, hopefully you found this lesson positive, uplifting. Hopefully you've drawn along with me. If you want to show some of your sketches, just what you're working on, maybe in school, maybe you have like a little sketchbook that you doodle in every now and then, sign up for our Discord. I know it's kind of intimidating. Maybe a lot of you watching actually don't know what Discord is. Maybe you're older generation. It's just an amazing community. It's online forums basically, and you just sign into each individual group, and we have a lot of people in there that want to learn along with you. The camaraderie is there. All right, so I could probably make 50 videos on how to navigate anatomy challenges as an artist. This is the beginning, okay? And I show you some models that I use. Let's start from there. Please check out my videos on thumbnail sketching and how to build a creature from scratch, because listen, it's a snowball effect. Starts with the loose stuff, and then it goes to refinement, and then it goes from refinement to polishing and finishing. Okay, that's the pipeline. Thank you all for tuning in. I love you all. And I will be seeing you very soon. Later.